Perfect. Also, our panelists maybe come to the front already. Very good. Good. Before I start welcoming you, probably a short explanation about Inga Paus. I think she was mentioned on the invitation. I'm Alice Deisler. Inga Paus wasn't able to come today, unfortunately, but I think we will manage to have a very good time, even though she's not there. My name is Alice Deisler. I'm the director of the Vodafone Institute, and I have founded 3 years ago F-Lane, together with our two cooperation partners, the Social Entrepreneurship Academy and the Impact Hub Berlin. And since we did that, many people ask me the question, why are you doing F-Lane? I think this is especially the case because we are originally a think tank, and we have the mission to explore the impacts of future technologies on society. And so our core business is basically do research, publications, events, roundtables, but we never really had a do component. But we actually realized that when we are talking about future societies and future technologies, we have to do something in regards to one of the most challenging issues of digitization, and that is diversity. I think everybody in this room knows that most of the tech solutions and tech innovations are developed by a group of white men, mostly located in the US, and that's quite scary to know that they are actually creating the world in which we will all live in. And if we don't include diversity and the female perspective, we don't really know how this world will look like in the future. What we can observe today, and I just read a wonderful book called The Invisible Women, which I can recommend to everybody in this room. There are lots of different tech solutions where you can just obviously see that there is no female lens and no gender inclusion. And we have tech solutions that we're using on a day-to-day basis, but they are not used and done for women. It starts, for example, with mobile devices that are created for the size of a man's hand. We go to, for example, the tech assistants such as Siri and Alexa, who are obviously with female characteristics developed and show a certain stereotype, I would say. And we also have, for example, voice recognition in cars and mobile devices that reacts up to 70% better to a male and deeper voice. So these are tiny but yet annoying examples of tech solutions that we're using on a daily basis that don't include gender. But we also have more dangerous and even life-threatening examples, especially when we look into the health sector and tech solutions there that are developed without a gender lens and without gender data analysis. So to come to the question again, why do we do F-Lane? I think it's for two reasons. The first reason is that we want to increase the number of tech solutions that have a female focus, because there are just not enough of them existing. And the second reason is that we, and with we I mean basically really everybody in this room, change the world in which we will live in the future. I mean the journalists that have to write about these issues and promote female role models. I mean the investors in this room who have to include a gender lens. I mean the women in the room that have to become upfront and then do something about it. And I also mean the men in the room that have to promote these women. But to end this really short welcome with a more positive note, there are so many women and so many tech solutions already existing. And when I started to pitch F-Lane to a range of people before we actually started the project, I remember one feedback that I sort of kept in my mind because it's really stressed me out at the beginning. It was somebody who said, you know, it's a great project, I think you should do it, but I really doubt that you will find women and that you will find enough projects. And we did. So this is our fourth batch, and I am very, very proud to present today 5 of our startups that have successfully done the last 6 weeks with us here in Berlin. And you will see that there are amazing startups, amazing tech solutions, and amazing women also presenting them. So before we do that, however, we have a very amazing keynote and a very interesting panel discussion that will help to contextualize a little bit better what we are doing today. So I will start with you, Saskia. I'm really happy that you came from Amsterdam this morning to be here. Saskia is the co-founder and CEO of Yunus Social Business, and thank you so much. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Alice. Good morning, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. Obviously, we're talking about really, really important topics that are very, very dear to my heart here. Obviously, empowering women on the one hand, but also, of course, women-led entrepreneurs, or women-led businesses, I should say, entrepreneurs that are women, I think is such an important topic. And why is it important for me personally? We at Yunus Social Business are, first of all, a company that was founded by two female entrepreneurs and a male. And that guy was called Mohammed Yunus. And some of you that know him actually know that while he is a man, he's actually kind of a woman's man. He's a real womanizer, if you want to put it that way, because what he started is something called Grameen Bank, and he started this 40 years ago. He started this in a country that is a Muslim country, which is Bangladesh. Who of you in the room know Grameen Bank and Mohammed Yunus? Can you put your hand up? Okay, cool. So you already roughly know the idea what I'm talking about. But let me give you a little bit of context. So Yunus is now almost turning 80, but over 40 years ago, the whole question around women empowerment was really quite not at all hip topic. But, and especially in the country that he was from, Bangladesh, not at all, Muslim country, women empowerment, not really a thing that people care about. But basically, he realized, or he decided at some point in the mid-70s that he actually wanted to give loans to poor people for them to be able to build up their own small businesses and get themselves out of poverty. And he said, well, we have 50% male and 50% female in this world, so we should also give 50% of the loans to women and not just men. At that point in Bangladesh, women didn't want to touch money, women didn't at all handle money, and so they were fully dependent on their husbands, on their men. So he said, with his female colleagues that he already had back then, let us try and see if we can get this money into the hands of women. So with lots of coaxing, lots of, let's say, convincing, he finally managed to get women to take this money, and these women also repaid the money. And over a couple of years, he finally managed to get to a 50-50 balance, 50% loans going to women, 50% of loans going to men. Well, when they then did an analysis, what is actually happening with this money, he realized that the money that was lent to the women had a much, much bigger effect on the families, on the health of the families, on the education of the families, and of the growth of those families as a whole. So at that point, they decided as Grameen Bank, we are going to invest only in women going forward. We're only going to lend to women. And that has really been the focus of Grameen Bank now over the last 40 years. So nowadays, Grameen Bank lends over 1 billion in small loans to 99% women. And this is, by the way, a picture with Yunus and all the women when he finally came to the conclusion it has to be only women. Grameen Bank is also owned by these women, so every single dollar that this bank makes ends up in the hands of these women because they're also the shareholders. And it's also led by the women because they're actually, these poor illiterate women are actually the ones that are also on the board of the company. So that's why I call it a triple W whammy, because it's really women-led, women-owned, and also, let's say, empowering women in that sense. So this is the legacy where we come from as Yunus Social Business. He's my co-founder. So we basically now at Yunus Social Business are not focusing on Bangladesh, but we're the international arm of, let's say, the Grameen and Yunus family that is focusing on investing in social businesses around the world. And social businesses, as all of you in the room know, are companies that are 100% focused on solving social or environmental problems. So that is what we focus on nowadays. Grameen Bank is one social business, but it's a particular category called microfinance, and we focus on social businesses more broadly nowadays. So at Yunus Social Business, next to the investing side that I just mentioned to you, we also actually work with large corporations because we believe We, on the one hand, need to build some social businesses ground up, like companies like the ones that you have all founded here. That is extremely important because those are the most pure and wonderful examples. But at the same time, we also need to get the large corporations involved, because only if we get them involved can we really drive change at scale around the women's topic, but of course also around other social topics. So that's why we have these two approaches. And to give you a couple of examples of, let's say, women-relevant businesses in our portfolio nowadays, one that I'm really excited about that we just invested in is called SMB Green. And this is a rickshaw leasing business in India. The point here is that over 90% of all rickshaw drivers or taxi drivers in general in India are men. And so women often don't really feel comfortable in actually even taking taxis, because you never know. It's not like with Uber where you know where the taxi goes. Like this can go anywhere. So women generally don't feel comfortable to get from A to B with a taxi. So that's one issue. But the other issue is that, of course, unemployment is a gigantic problem in India, and particularly among women. So what this entrepreneur decided is actually to say, I'm going to combine these two topics. I'm going to actually create rickshaws that are owned and driven by women, which allows other women to take these taxis, but also which most importantly allows women to become their small little entrepreneurs. And so he's created this e-rickshaw business, which makes it also easier for women with their power to actually drive those rickshaws, because otherwise it's quite a heavy job if you're pedaling like for hours on a day. So this is one lovely business. They've already created income for several thousands of women in this way. Another example, this is more one where we're combining social businesses and large corporations, is another women-relevant business in India called Rangsutra. So this is actually a company that is owned and run by 2,500 women that are either single moms or basically live in difficult economic environments. And they produce simple artisanal products. And the cool thing now, and this is what I talked about in terms of getting the big corporates involved, this company now also sells their products to IKEA. And in turn, IKEA is actually interested to buy from more of these types of social businesses going forward. So beautiful example where basically, on the one hand, we have bottom-up social businesses, and at the same time, we have big corporations getting involved in this kind of field. So they sell just simple cushions to them, but it really makes a difference because this business can grow much, much faster. So basically, the message that I actually have to you guys, you women, and also men that are running women empowering businesses, I really think that we're to a certain extent at a tipping point. This is supposed to be a wave that is not rolling over us, but a wave that is pushing us in the right direction. Because I think it's very important that we as women and we as social entrepreneurs don't see ourselves in the niche role or in the victim role. I actually think that we're all strong, and this is actually an opportunity that we have right now, because society around us is slowly but surely changing and moving in our favor. So to give you one example, there's obviously in the whole field of investing, first of all, the trend of impact investing has emerged. So investing for a social impact. But within that category, there's a new category called gender lens investing that probably most of you are aware of. And millions are suddenly flowing into investments that have a gender lens. So big organizations like the US aid, which can be criticized in many different ways, but one of their main focuses is actually women empowerment going forward, which I think is an important trend. And next to that, basically, it's not just around the women's topic, but I think capitalism in general is being currently questioned quite significantly. So one major event that happened this summer was that the FT had this as a title, the Financial Times, so the most financially driven or commercial, let's say, newspaper in the world, suddenly says, capitalism, time for a reset. and is now suddenly changing their rhetoric, is actually requesting for more stories around socially driven business rather than just typical good old financial capitalism the way that we used to know it. Also, white privileged males like Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, which is the largest investor in the world, announced over the last 2 years that he only wants to invest in companies that have a social purpose and that actually live up to that. By the way, we're not there yet. They're still not only investing in good companies, but the fact that a guy like this, the biggest investor in the world, even puts that word out there is, I think, a positive sign. And obviously the world is not changing because of only white males, but also young females. And this is just one example. Again, there's lots of criticism around Greta as well, but the important thing is this young woman within a year has gotten millions of people to change their minds. And that actually shows that also the grassroots movements are going into a positive direction to actually support the businesses, the social businesses, the women-led businesses, etc., that all of us care about. So all of that to say, you guys in the room are all convinced. I'm preaching to the choir here, like you know all of that, that's good. But sometimes I feel also among us it's important to remind ourselves that actually the wave is now going in our direction and the wind is now blowing in our direction. And so we're not out there on our own anymore. I think that's an important point. And the final one is just please continue the good work that you're all doing. This kind of is sort of like a ticking time bomb. The Sustainable Development Goals are all coming to an end in 10 years. We have a lot of work to do, and we're right now as a world behind in reaching these global goals, these Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm so excited to see all these young female entrepreneurs and also other entrepreneurs in the room supporting females, because the time is ticking and we have a lot to do. So thank you so much for your time, and yeah, looking forward to the further discussion.
Thank you so much. I think that was very inspiring. It's also very like enthusiastic. I think now the teams feel, you know, even better to pitch today in front of you guys. Before we do that, we have the panel discussion that I already mentioned at the beginning. Welcome Jürgen Klöckner, who will be the moderator. He is the chief or the senior editor of Focus Online, so obviously an already convinced journalist that this topic is very important. So I leave the stage for you and your speakers.
Thank you so much, Alice, and thank you so much, Saskia, for this very helpful introduction into the topic that we are going to discuss right now. I definitely going to keep the word triple W whammy in my mind. That was very nice to hear. So we are going to talk about how can politics and how can actually investors help tech for good thrive. How can, and actually how and if they can make the world a better place. And for this, please give a warm welcome to my panel. I'm very privileged to introduce Marley Baum. She is CEO and funding partner of wlounge, and she's investing with a gender lens. Welcome, Marley. We have Janet Gusko. She's head of GoFundMe Germany, and that's kind of a platform that brings investors and investments together. Welcome, Janet. We have Inas Nuruldin. He's co-founder of Tomorrow Bank, which tries to disrupt the banking system and putting the money of their clients into sustainable products. Hello, Inas. And we have Fátima González-Torres. She's regional director of Southern Europe of Ecosia, so to say the green Google. I hope you don't mind saying that. Roughly one search plants one tree, right? And during this event, 15,000 trees are going to be planted by Ecosia, which is quite a lot. So we have a lot of great examples in green tech, which are sitting here, some of them, Ecosia, GoFundMe, and Tomorrow Bank. And still the investments into those startups, which you heard right now, is very small compared to other investments. So I would like to ask you, Marley, first, what's wrong with investments?
First of all, thank you so much for having me today. Second, it will take me hours to tell you what's wrong.
Maybe
so,
one.
Exactly. So I will start to show it as like not what's wrong, but what we should do. Because I'm more about not complaining what's wrong, but just what we are doing. So what's wrong? Amazing Alex and Saskia, they said what's wrong already. And I built 4 companies before even coming to Berlin, and it was always raise money from guys. They were great guys, doesn't matter, but the negotiation, the communication, the growth of the company, it was always depends on males, let's call it this way. Not that this is bad, but this is also not that good, because it gives us to other stories like, sexual harassment, all this stuff that we don't even want to hear as part of growth, startup and ecosystem, and this is the economy and the next generation of the economy and so on. So what's wrong? It's wrong because there is not enough diversity. It's not gender length, it's not only the main problem. It's, as Ellie said, we cannot see only white male guys that coming out of the same universities and investing in the same people on probably the same product, because they are also risk averse. So that's the main problem. And I worked in Silicon Valley, New York, in Beijing, and originally I'm from Tel Aviv. I live in Berlin for 6 years. It's a global problem. It doesn't hit only one geographic, I would say, area. It's definitely touching global, all over the world.
Yunus, you have some examples, some experience with investors. You actually just announced an 8 million investment into Tomorrow Bank. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Which experience can you share with us? How to get an investment as a social startup?
I think, first of all, I totally agree with Mali, because I was wondering, when we're meeting with investors, I hardly met any women, that are in charge basically of VC funds, etc. And I think that really needs to change. And I think the challenge is, if you want to get money for a sustainable startup from old white men, right? They believe in old business models, most of them, unfortunately. They would say, well, there is no market opportunity for sustainable businesses, right? So it's really, really hard sometimes to explain to traditional VCs that it's a mega trend. It's not just a niche phenomena, right? But it's a mega trend. So that's the first challenge. And the second challenge is, if you find then the right VC, I think the problem is that sometimes they don't have the right values, right? They're driven towards fast exit, and maybe with a sustainable startup, that's not necessarily what you're looking for. You're not looking for to build a startup for the next 3 years, exit it, cash out, and say goodbye, right? And that's a little bit the challenge. So I think what we experienced, first of all, we were very lucky to find a lot of individual investors, like business angels in the first phase, maybe that have founded sustainable businesses themselves. So I think that's a great route to go. And I think if also there are some social entrepreneurs here in the room, I'm happy to help out also with a network to find these persons. But then I think, especially if you have a very capital-intensive project, that's not enough, right? You need some kind of institutional investor. And we had the experience that we had to turn down VC offers because they said, well, great, we want to also invest in impact. And then we went down the road with due diligence. We finished everything. They were all happy. And then the last couple of meters before the appointment at the notary, they said, listen, we need to change the governance. We want to install an advisory board. Yeah, great. Advisory boards are great, right? And you as founders, you have 1 vote out of 5. And say, well, okay, why didn't you tell us beforehand? And then what we did, we stopped the process and said them, go to hell, basically. And then started from scratch again, which is tough, right? But now, fortunately, we found someone who is impact-driven, so it's much harder. And I think at the same time, we need to show that there are new role models that show that impact and technology and scale works out at the end of the day, right? And so I think we need to start a movement in contrast to the typical unicorn movement, right? Fast growth, fast exit at all cost. And maybe join a new movement that we call also the zebra movement, so an alternative to the unicorn.
So you made kind of your experience with VCs, and we have Fátima here who works for Ecosia, and Ecosia actually, which I learned today, didn't get any investments but still made a lot of growth. So how did you do that? Is that an example that maybe also works for other startups?
Well, I wish it was true for everyone. It's very particular for Ecosia because of our business model. So Ecosia, as you mentioned, is a green Google, right? It's a search engine that plants trees. So we make profits out of the advertisings on the search results, right? And that profit we invest then 100% into trees. And therefore, unlike perhaps a project like Tomorrow or anyone who has perhaps also a physical object or a physical product, the advantage of that is that you're constantly making money through the advertising. So I think at the very beginning, Christian Kroll and Tim Schumacher, who are the founders of Ecosia, they invested some capital into it, and then that's everything that we needed to get started as a search engine that is then based on Microsoft Bing, right? And then all the rest of the investment comes through the search results. So I think that it's a very particular business model. I'm not sure that it works for everyone in that sense, unfortunately. But there are many alternative search engines to Google other than Ecosia, and therefore, yeah. So yes and no, but I wanted to also comment a little bit of what Ines, what you mentioned about how we need more companies that set an example and that say no to VCs like the ones that you sent to hell. We need more zebras. I think we completely agree at Ecosia, and also a year ago, or actually half a year ago by now only, Ecosia also turned into a purpose foundation. So the challenge we had was, obviously Christian from day one told us, Ecosia is always going to be about tree planting, and I will never sell Ecosia and make a lot of money out of this, which he could have at any point, especially the bigger Ecosia became. And of course, those of us who've been there for a long time and know Christian well, like I've been there for 8 years, I trust him, and I never needed him to like sign a paper to trust that he would never sell Ecosia to do something else. But he wanted to make a commitment that is also public to make sure that everybody knows that Ecosia would never be sold, but as an inspiration as well, right? And that's why we turned the company into, so becoming an NGO, a foundation wasn't that practical because we still wanted to operate as a business, because you can just work much faster and you find a problem and you just solve it. You don't have to go through huge discussions with, so we decided to instead become a purpose foundation, which means that a foundation holds 1% of our shares, 99% of our capital, and it can never be sold. We've signed, Christian and Tim Schumacher have given up all their shares that would have been worth millions, and said no, because it will always be for social good, and if tomorrow, I mean, knock on wood, Christian or Tim disappear, then the company can only ever belong to anyone within Ecosia, and everybody that exits Ecosia doesn't have any say anymore. So that way, we're also trying to inspire, as you say, these kind of movements whereby companies and startups don't need to be thought of for in the 3 years to exit, make a lot of money, but you can actually think from the beginning, how can I have a long-term impact on society? And you put yourself second, as Tim and Christian did, and put society first. And I think, yeah, you're trying to do the same, which is great.
So if Mali would knock on your door and say, hey, I would like to give you some millions, you would refuse?
No, definitely no. I mean, money, if that's what you're saying. No, I didn't think we would refuse, but we would think very... we would think about how to invest it best into, in this case, our expertise is tree planting, for it to have a large impact. We're very careful. We don't accept donations at Ecosia. We always, that's probably what we would do with Mali as well. We always ask for money to be donated directly to the tree planting projects whom we work with, and we help them go through how to invest that money. Yeah, we wouldn't say no.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
I have to say something. There is a lot of positive trends on doing good, but still be, capital. Then be a good investor and do a hell of a revenue and great returns, and do a very positive social good. And I see it also in venture capital. There are not a lot, absolutely. They are still pioneers. But I can tell you it's happening in Silicon Valley, New York, Tel Aviv, absolutely. They even call themselves an impact. There is a venture like this in Israel, one of the biggest. And I agree with everything you mentioned, but I don't want to show those, because Saskia said, we need the corporates, we need the family offices to make really an impact. And I'm totally with this. You know why I've built wlounge? I built wlounge because it was my time to give back. My time to give my network, to give my knowledge, all my mistakes. If I can help one person to do it faster and to succeed big time, this is wlounge, bringing the biggest guys, even in the world, but let's focus for a second in Europe or Germany, to understand. So it's all about education. But I would never tell them, listen, let's do good only for being good. I would definitely go to them and say, like, you can invest different. Yes, it's educational path, but I still want all the people that do great social ventures show also revenue, because eventually what we want to show. We want to show that this is the right way, that the next generation, definitely millennials and you know, my kids are teenagers, they are going this way anyway. This is their mindset. So we need to support that with money, with network, with infrastructure, with industry. But eventually, I would like to keep the discussion that we need one great story, one great Google or Facebook that also came up and success big time, absolutely, hopefully founded by a woman, but also doing great revenue and still do good stuff.
I think Jeanette can contribute to this point which you mentioned. It's about what triggers investments, and you have a lot of data because you see it every day, where the money of the private investors goes in which projects. So can you share with us your insights? What triggers investments?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting what Mali just mentioned in terms of diversity on all ends, right? Like venture capital, we only see 2% of venture capital, like in this moment of time, to go into female-led organizations and startups. So obviously this is a discrepancy where there's lots of potential. And what we see at GoFundMe at the moment is that civil society is really stepping in, because it is a mega trend, sustainability, and the question how we want to consume in the future, how we want to live in the future. And these kind of private investors, GoFundMe is a donation-based crowdfunding. So what we see is groups, early-stage startups, different kinds of organizations, really mobilizing their own community to start off first, because they don't want to get into a situation of a mission drift. They want to stay focused on their mission in the beginning, and they really focus and engage with the community that they have already built. I think this is quite a beautiful thing, because out of that they can build a prototype. Out of that they can build out an idea that they can then successfully pitch later stage. And what we see at the moment, for example, is that women are actually outperforming men when raising money on GoFundMe. They are more often sharing their own story, their founder story. That's really, really important. And we see, for example, ventures like ventures around period equity. So the question, how do women all over the world have access to hygiene products? These kind of social ventures with like a really specific lens, being very, very successful, raising money. Last year alone, campaigns on GoFundMe in the German-speaking markets raised 5 million euros. So there is potential. It's starting with citizen-led and people power-led campaigns first. And I think it's an interesting addition to a more traditional flow of funds. And what we are professionally focused on is really empowering and granting access of money to people who formerly just didn't have access to a place at the table. And maybe one last thing is adding to the crises that Saskia mentioned. I think we also have a potential crisis of people trusting tech. And I think it's something that we have to address if we want digitalization to be trusted in by the majority of people and really thinking this is a driver for us as a society, we also need to make sure that the products that are built are demonstrating that everyday impact and that everyday value to people. And I think financing organizations, financing startups that do that very well is a super, super important step.
You mentioned tech phobia. Is that something you can relate to as well, Yunus? Do you see this in your everyday business with your clients as well?
I think it's really changing, right? And it's more a generational question. And to a certain extent, we had the feeling at the beginning it's also a gender question. Because it was interesting when we launched our first beta app. So basically, as a bank, to run a beta maybe sounds a little bit weird because you're dealing with money, something goes wrong, right? People get worried. And this is beta phase. We were really worried because we had like 300 beta testers, and I would say 95% were male. And so we were very afraid that we are building a product targeting males only, which we didn't want to do at all, of course. But thankfully, I think this really changed, and also really changed when we added basically more females to our tech team, which is very difficult in Germany. It's much easier abroad, by the way, like, for example, in Egypt, where I founded my first business. It was very normal to have, in the tech team to have 50% women. And that now really translated also into basically having 50% women as our customers, I think, yeah. But I think from an age group, definitely you can see that if you're building a mobile only or mobile first product, that typically you're addressing a target audience that's between 18 and 35. That's the big majority. And then the older people get, the more they are still afraid, I would say, of certain tech-driven products.
Is that something Ecosia sees as well in their clients' data?
Definitely, and it's a similar pattern in age groups. Obviously, people, especially with also Google being the news and the lack of privacy on Google, that's become a stronger and stronger subject. And it is definitely a concern that we also have. So that's why Ecosia is also completely private, but it is still, we do get, especially from that older group that you mentioned, a lot of skepticism and questions whether that's true. So it is definitely important. But we do see a very positive attitude from the younger age group ages, who are very aware of what it means, what privacy in the internet means, or what non-privacy means, right? What it means to be able to use certain products online for free, and what that means, what kind of data you're using. So it seems to me that people are better educated, which is really good, into at what point you are leaving which traces online, and so they're very open to always switch. Like, okay, now I want because you can choose how private you go and you search. So we see people choosing. Now I want to choose to search completely privately. Sometimes we don't. So that's really good in the younger age group. Also testing with users, we've realized that there's not such a general mistrust as in an older group, but more of a careful approach towards tech in general, which is I think a quite healthy development. At least that's the experience we've made with test users.
So we heard a lot of examples of tech for good, how tech can make the world a better place. And I would actually like to ask Mali, what is your perspective on where's the big need for tech for good, like in which fields, and where it will be in the future? Will this change? Will the need grow? And where is it in the future?
It's a good question, and I want to also answer to you, but also refer to what my colleagues here said. Today, if you will talk with Porsche, Daimler, or whatever name I can drop here, like Siemens, they are the old industry. But suddenly, Tesla is opening a factory in Berlin. So it will be Tesla made in Berlin, which made us very, very proud. But all the time that we're talking with this, I would say, old industry mindset, old male guys, they sell very well. They even don't believe a lot in marketing or so, but they understand, and this is a lot of things that we are doing as a mission, that they need to invest but actually acquire younger generation, younger technology to their product, because this is the only way that they will survive. So, you know, if you go to China and you will see Porsche on the street, you will see only the SUV. You don't see it as the you know, legendary car that we see it, which means the mindset of the generation is also changing. So tech for good, people want to consume good product. People want to believe that they put the money in the right places. This is one thing. And you know, when wlounge started to be very strong and working with, you know, the biggest name, I took a decision to take it for the next level and use this for good. So build a fund of fund. The fund of fund called Magda Group. So even before thinking about fund of fund, and you know, fund of fund is putting money in, bringing great revenue, use all the power to support the ecosystem and to support the portfolio and the venture capital to grow with the power of the network. But even before that, we launched hashtag I'm a Magda. Hashtag I'm a Magda, touching specifically, talking directly with these guys, and it's called Making Women Business Ready. What is making, what is woman, why woman, and what is business ready? So we want to send a call, do good with your power, do good with your money. I would say be a leader for the next generation, industry, economy, locally and globally. You know, fund more women, mentor more women, open doors for more women. This is why I'm here today, because I believe this actually program is opening great doors for women that maybe no one will open them. So it's showing them the opportunities and connecting them well enough to continue and to have the potential to grow. So doing good is one thing, but I have to keep the conversation is doing good is one mindset. All this venture capital that we will put money in, they will have to show diverse portfolio, diverse team. This is part of not forcing them, but educating them, and this is using your influence, money, infrastructure, industry, and connection for doing good.
Again, Jeanette, you will maybe have a lot of data on where the money goes from your private investors, so which projects are famous now, where people like to invest in. What is it, like which fields?
So it's often fields that people can relate to in their day-to-day life. I think everybody can relate to that. Like what is close to me and what's important to me is also something where I'd like to give my resources into. So, for example, we saw the launch of a campaign for an app, which was the winner of Startup Teens. Some people in the room might know it. The app was called Turvo, which is an app created by students for students to learn better, to learn in different formats for exams. So that was one where we saw lots of money being donated by parents, just because it's something that they wanted to see. We also saw, for example, an entrepreneur from Thüringen who inherited the brewery of his father. Doesn't sound like much of a tech for good for the moment, but he and his sister, what they wanted to do is to change the way they brew and to actually change their business model as well into a model where the beer that they sell is also giving back to the community, so using their resources as well. And they raised successfully 10,000 euros. So I think in these moments where it's rather about prototypes and rather about getting things started, getting projects off the ground, I think those 5,000 to 10,000 euro campaigns can really, really make a difference. But to give an example where corporates or where bigger organizations also take stakes, we see a lot that foundations or corporations are functioning as a matching partner. So they actually say, hey, I love your app or I love your project, I'll be giving 10,000 euros for a week if citizens come up with another 10,000. So I think these kind of matching and gaming systems could be interesting for entrepreneurs as well. And maybe one last thing is we also have to talk about legal bodies. So often investments only goes into specific structures just because it's always been like this. So what are we actually doing with cooperatives? What are we doing with GmbHs in the future? I think this will be a field where we see more. At GoFundMe, maybe to sum it up with some data, entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs that are working in the field of education and health are the ones that are raising most money. So I think this connects heavily to the SDGs that we heard about. I think a tech for good company today is serving to solve SDGs in the future, because they are the biggest challenges. If we don't solve them, we're gonna have a very difficult time on this earth in the future.
Thank you so much. We're running out of time, and I would like to use the last 3 minutes to give you all the opportunity to give some tips to our young funders we have in the audience. And I would like to start with you, Mali.
My biggest tip today, because I'm quite sure that most of the people in this room are very pioneers, entrepreneurs, and really want to do something impact with their life. So it's go two ways. One way, it's on us, the women, as well, to take ownership, to talk about what we need, to ask for help, to choose great mentors that helping us to open doors, and to really take a responsibility and uplift each other to eventually see one very big successful story globally wise that grew up and founded by women, because we need that. That will bring the next wave and so. And the next tip that I can tell you is like everything that doing good is, we have always this discussion / conversation or even argument about what is good, what is not, what is impact investment, what is not impact investment. And I have to tell you that you have to check within yourself really, really deeply before coming with an idea. What is the problem you're solving, and what is really the impact and the good you're bringing? Because when you're very precise, the money is flowing. Every time people telling me, oh, I can do this, what that, but I don't have money. The money is never the problem. Look at yourself, look at the team, look at about the track record, look at about the aim of the company. Definitely when you're doing good, this is a trend of investors to do that and to support that, but make sure you really know what you bring into the market, and I'm sure that the money will follow.
Fátima.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, because I don't want to repeat Mali's words, and I think that I was going to go in a similar direction, so perhaps I'll go in a different one that perhaps is not directly related to Ecosia, but the subject came up a lot, and Mali also mentioned it. It is on us women, definitely. I think that Saskia also mentioned, like, it's no use to see yourself as the loser of something, right? To be the victim of a structure that just very often go against you. But at the same time, I also want to encourage the men to look around them and do more, be more active to support these groups, not just women, but all kinds of minority groups, LGBTQI, and all kinds of, again, minority groups. I think that we are very far away also in Germany, and particularly Berlin, from reaching equality. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that, because Berlin is it's a tech city, it's very modern, but we have a lot of hurdles, and very often, sadly still, the hurdle are the men that don't look, that don't speak up when they have to speak up, that look away, that feel insecure about what to do. Do more, speak up, go to ask us what is going on, where do you see the problem? When you see a problem, speak up and make way for minority groups, also women, because unfortunately still, even if you don't want to see yourself as a victim, you have that hurdle. You have the hurdle of someone that has power and privilege and doesn't want to or doesn't know how to help you also get up there and actually reach equality. And I think that, again, I really want to underline how much in Europe and in Germany and Berlin we still have that issue too. We live, I think, in a bubble. I'm very happy to live in a bubble where often this is not the issue, and I reach out to male friends or colleagues and they do speak up, but still often they need a push. So be very aware of that you hold power, you hold privilege. It's still the case. And also here, let's not be blind about the fact that here, these issues still exist in Berlin as well.
So we ran out of time. Do we have
Sorry.
2 more minutes for them? Or you can talk. I think later on in the flying dinner, maybe you can give them in private the tips, right? So we don't steal your pitch time. Thank you so much for the panels. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Also from my side, I remember when we set up the panel, I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I wish I would listen to them for hours and hours. So sorry that we only have 30 minutes, and I hope that you will stay until the lunch and we will stalk you and ask you many, many more questions. So thank you so much for being here. Okay. I see many people standing. If there are some, I see some free seats, and also I think in front there's maybe the red little thing. Just if anybody who's standing up wants to sit down for the next couple of minutes, so yeah, come in front. Good. Now we come to obviously the highlight. After 7 weeks, and the teams have spent here in Berlin, but we also spent a few days in London. Obviously, the teams are quite exciting now to show you the results and to have the final demo day in front of this audience today. As already mentioned, we do Flame together with 2 cooperation partners, with the Social Entrepreneurship Academy and the Impact Hub here in Berlin. And also already mentioned, this is our 4th batch, so we did it for 4 times already. So we are really excited to have this final day now coming up. So some of the mics are still prepared to the team, so we'll wait for a few more minutes. So maybe I can tell more about F-Lane. The teams get, obviously during the 7 weeks, they get trainings, they get one-on-one sessions, they have coaches, they have mentors, and what they also do have, and I think this is probably one of the most important parts, is pitch training. I think this project lives also from the different cultural backgrounds that we have in each cohort. So you will realize after today that we have these 5 teams come all from different regions in the world, and they give each other a lot of feedback, but also a lot of, they are also a mirror to each other in regards to female empowerment, because you realize, me being in this Berlin bubble, for example, that we have very, very different and varying problems in regards to female empowerment throughout the world. This is one of the very, I think, special things that we realize after each of the batches. So the mic is on. Do I have okay? Okay, so the first team will come up on stage. It's Avegene, and they are located in India. And I'm really excited now that Sumi and Anne will present their startups to you right now. Welcome.
Yes, welcome everyone. We're so excited to be here today. It's very fun. It has been a very fun 6 weeks, and we're very excited to be the first team today up here to start. And I want to introduce you to Shubhi. Shubhi is a good friend of mine in India, and when I first met her, she told me about her pregnancy. And it became the embodiment of why we do what we do at Avegene. Because when Shubhi was pregnant, 7 months pregnant actually, from twins, she was rushed to the hospital and she had a preterm delivery. And at that day, she lost one of her baby boys. And with hindsight, and this is what she told me, this could have been prevented. If she would have had the right knowledge, if she would have had more support, her baby son would have been with us today. I'm Anne Rijns. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Avegene, and I'm extremely passionate to prevent cases from ever happening again.
And I'm Dr. Sumati Saharan. I'm the Chief Research Officer for Avegene and Anne's partner in crime. And I truly believe there is a way to deliver maternal health to women that is better. As of today, we have helped more than 150,000 people get better health care with our solution. And let me tell you how we do it. So the way we do this for pregnant women like Shubhi is through a digital care program that has 4 components. Firstly, when a pregnant woman like Shubhi comes to us, we make sure she gets a care plan that is personalized, that's customized to her health and her risks, like say that she has high blood pressure. Secondly, we make sure Shubi gets the right information at the right time throughout her pregnancy, both through personalized video sessions she has with experts, as well as content she can access in the app, so that she does know how to manage her BP, so that she does know why blood pressure management is important to have a healthy pregnancy. Thirdly, we use gamification to motivate her, to nudge her towards healthy behaviors that can influence her pregnancy, like rewarding her for eating less salt. And fourth, and finally, we make it very, very easy with our solution for her doctor to monitor and track Shubi through her pregnancy, so that they can know how she's faring and if and when she might need extra attention and care. And the reason we think our solution works is because we have proven it, both in pilots in the UK with the NHS Trust, as well as in India. We have shown that with our solution, we can not only significantly improve the quality of care patients receive, but also cut down the cost of care. But it's never just about the numbers, right? Equally importantly, and actually more importantly, we know this because the mothers who are in our care program have come and told us that we are significantly changing their experience of pregnancy and making them more empowered as people.
And how do we earn money? We make money by not just deploying this solution in maternal health care, but also in HIV and cardiac rehabilitation. We charge a one-time setup fee and a yearly maintenance fee, and with this, in the last year, we have made more than $600,000 of revenue. And we're a global company. We're not just working in the UK, but also in developing markets like India. And by charging the platform for a lower fee in India, we are able to not only increase our impact, but also get many more patients on our platform. And consequently, we cannot just improve our platform much faster, but we can also improve research and inform policymakers. And the reason why we can do what we do is because we have an absolutely great team. We have doctors, we have scientists, we have business people, we have tech people in the company, and some of us have sold companies before. But what really, really drives us together is our passion for healthcare and really making this better. And why are we here today? I want you to think about Shubi and that story and how you can help us to prevent that from ever happening again. So I actually want you to take out your phones right now. And I want you to write an email to Let's Talk at Evergen Health, especially if you know or are a pharmaceutical company, or if you know an insurer or a hospital that wants to improve patients' life. Let's talk, because we can help you with that. Secondly, if you are a health-focused donor, or if you know someone that can help us with implementing a clinical study or funding this clinical study, we would love to talk to you. And lastly, we're looking for collaborations with people that are interested to fund a mother in our care program in India so that she gets the care that she needs. Thank you so much for today. I'm really looking forward to your emails, and let's make healthcare better together.
Thank you.
I definitely will learn now to speak slowly and more in a better way. I think I was listening, I was like, oh, I've always talked so fast. Now when I hear you guys, I'm like really impressed. Okay, we have 5 minutes of Q&A, which means that if anybody has questions about the business plan, how they do it, about the team, whatever pops up in your mind, please ask the questions now, because we have the opportunity to get them answered directly from Simeon and on stage. And don't be shy. There are no stupid questions. Oh, we need a microphone. It's coming up. Perfect. It's over here.
Hi there. First of all, thanks for the pitch. Very impressed. It was really great. So congratulations on this. I would be really interested to hear a little bit more about your collaboration with NHS and what the challenges were, because I know from other examples that that is a challenge, can be a challenging thing to do. So I would just hear how that worked and what challenges were and how did you overcome those?
I can take that one. So I think what really helped us have these collaborations is a couple of things. One, within the team, we have people who have worked in the pharma industry. And as a team, within the medical domain and the health domain, we do bring in a lot of credibility. But Anne mentioned that we work in 3 disease domains, and well, pregnancy is not a disease, but also in HIV and in cardiac health. Our collaboration with NHS started in cardiac health, and the reason it worked is because we went from an approach of really trying to solve their main pain point. And the pain point for them was NHS is at a place where they are understaffed and they are overworked, and they really want to optimize their systems. And we said, let's do a pilot. And through a pilot, we were able to demonstrate that we are able to simplify lives for the nurses who are caring for patients, and we are actually able to bring about that optimization that they're striving for. And then that inroad leads to scaling.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding mobile penetration and literacy. How much is that still an obstacle, and are you reaching the ones where it is most urgently needed, and what are you doing about it, or what could be done about it?
So about 3 years ago, if you asked me this question, I would have said mobile phones are something that only the privileged people have in their hands. But India has dramatically changed in the last 3 years. The costs of mobile phones and data in India has come down by 90%. And what that has really led to is an explosion of consumption of data. Low-income families, so to paint a picture, this is somebody who lives in a slum, works in an urban city like Mumbai, but lives in a slum, and the husband works, and they make their ends meet. They have enough money to eat 3 meals, but nothing too much more beyond that. They are consuming up to 4 to 5 GB of data every day. And it has, this device has become a portal today for entertainment and for all the aspiration that these communities hold to raise their standard of living. Mobile penetration is a little slower in the rural parts of India still. We primarily do work with the urban sector, but we do focus on the low-income segments. The last perspective there is the gender lens. There we still have some way to go. There is a huge gender disparity in how much men and women do use phones, but you are seeing that change. And where we really saw an opportunity is the barriers were gone. They have phones in their houses. They are using it for TikTok. They're using it to watch movies and entertainment. And this was a powerful way to enter their homes and start activating them about health.
Yeah, that doesn't, so just to add to that doesn't mean you need to adapt the application, right? Not just in terms of language, but you also need to make sure that this application is usable at very simple phones, smaller screen phones with less data, sometimes not always internet connectivity. And most importantly, the UI is very, very different. Like the users are native app users. They don't know how to find it via Google or App Store or these kind of things. So the usage is very, very different. Like you need to show, for example, in the app, like a finger going to a button because they would otherwise not know that this blue thing on the bottom is a button. So, and that's where we had to definitely make a step, and that's what we did in the last years, to really see how does this population use technology, because with technology, you can bridge so many of these knowledge gaps and healthcare gaps that there are.
Okay, I see there are more questions, but since we are a little bit running out of time, I would suggest that you ask the questions during lunch. We also have, I forgot to mention that at the beginning, outside, here on the right side, outside of this room, a 2-page where you can find all the essential information about startups, but also the contact information, everything you might need to contact them, worst case, afterwards.
The email address is there, right? So, and everyone wrote an email to us now, correct? So
I think everybody used the phone already.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We're in connection.
So I'm just going to take this. Thank you, guys, and my compliments. It was great.
Thank you, everyone.
So the next startup Wait, we have to. They have prepared a lot of backup slides as well. The next startup comes from a total different geographical location, from Ghana. I would like to welcome Letitia and Tamir with their startup Developers on Vogue on stage. The stage is yours, and have fun.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So, it's 5 a.m. in Accra, Ghana. Teaching assistant Ivy Barley has woken up at the crack of dawn to gather with a class of enthusiastic young high school women to teach them statistics and tech. She's surprised at the turnout because, contrary to popular expectations, women on the African continent are incredibly excited about careers in tech. We're confronting major issues here. My name is Leticia, and I'm joined on stage today by my colleague and former Stanford University classmate, Tamir Shabani. Oh, thank you. Hair problems. So, at Developers in Vogue, coming from the Bay Area, having both grown up throughout the African continent, we realized that we're confronting issues that were particularly acute on the African continent. There are massive gender disparities in STEM, as well as a racial and diversity gap in education and in commerce. This is really acute on the African continent because African businesses are losing out on half of their labor force and incredible potential. Why should we address this issue? More African women in tech means a stronger workforce, more innovation, and inclusive development towards the future. At DIV, we are creating an amazing generation of African women in tech. Meet Jamila. Jamila is a young, passionate, incredibly bright Ghanaian woman who is interested in gaining technical skills. She realizes she has 3 issues at hand. She wants to grow in her technical expertise, she needs mentorship, and the building blocks towards a career in technology. At DIV, we offer her workshops, scaling from a 1-week intensive boot camp to a full 6-month program, where not only will she gain programming skills, but she will also gain in job readiness and development. We have community. In Accra, we recently moved into a 3-floor workspace where women can gather 50 on each floor to support each other on difficult programming projects, as well as solidarity and extending towards mentorship. We invited the global leadership of Microsoft 365 from Seattle to Accra to meet with our women. They in turn are becoming mentors for the next generation of African female tech leaders. Visibility also is an additional payoff here because our trainees have been recognized by the President of Ghana, as well as your very own Angela Merkel during a recent visit in Accra. These workshops, this community development, and this mentorship all culminates in a transformative experience at DIV.
Let me tell you some of these transformative experiences. Meet Jamila. When she started Developers in Vogue, she came in with no technical background. Today, she's a data analyst at Zipline Ghana, an organization that transports blood to remote areas in Ghana using drones. She also became the first woman in the history of the competition organized by the Institute for Technology and Engineering to win first prize in a competition in Accra. She also participated in a hackathon in Paris, where her team won first place in designing an algorithm to help combat climate change issues. Dorothy came into Developers in Vogue with technical experience, but needed to polish them. So we streamlined the program for her to develop her back-end skills so that she could become a successful applicant at Vodafone Ghana, where today she works full-time. And Sienna got recruited by the Seattle team to be a program manager on Office 365, which is one of the most successful software products in history. Now, the pathways to success are beyond jobs and internships. Some go on to start their own businesses, and so we've partnered with local accelerator programs that help accelerate these businesses, like MEST. Some freelance through opportunities that come through DIV, and some are just so inspired to continue studying that they go on to earn masters and PhDs in computer science. In 2019, we did a lot, but we're really excited to go further. So in 2020, we hope to scale to 5 locations and more. Our revenues are projected to also scale, as well as our enrollment. And we hope we continue to do that into 2023 and beyond. And we're currently building a portal that helps match job opportunities to the graduates of a program to make it more efficient and also to create a wider scope of applicants and opportunities around the world. Our business model consists primarily of corporate grants, job referrals, consulting, and tuition. And our team consists also primarily of graduates of the program who today are giving back to women as well. And we were so inspired to join this primarily also because of our founder and CEO, Ivy Barley, who extends her greetings to all of you. Our partners include corporate partners, as well as governments, like the government entities, as well like GIZ and IFC. And with 50,000 euros in grants, we can continue this movement in 2020 and beyond. And with 50 laptops, each woman participating in the program can have 1 computer to work on. And with 1 hour of monthly mentorship a month, you can also play a role in mentoring these women as well. And also importantly, we hope you hire our graduates of the program through the portal, which will be coming up soon. The stories of Dorothy, Jamila, and Sienna shouldn't be the exception. They should be the norm. Because the hope and dreams of women in Ghana are just as important as those all around the world. And we hope you will join us in creating the next generation of incredible women in technology. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Again, that was amazing. I hope now the mobiles get out of your pocket again and you scan the QR code that is on the slide. Thank you so much. Again, we have 5 more minutes for questions that have emerged while you were listening to the pitches. We have. Do I have the mic? No, I'm just going to steal it from you.
Hi, this is Saskia. Really amazing to hear what you guys are doing. I was just wondering in terms of like the long-term business model. I understand currently it's mostly really grant funded, but have you guys considered really creating a sustainable business model in the future, for example, by not just having a tech school, but actually a tech outsourcing business that sells the services to, let's say, international IT companies? Like, for example, Samasource does or Amali Tech does. There are a couple of companies out there that are doing that.
Absolutely. That's essentially what we are working towards with our platform, not simply for full-time employment for these women, but freelancing opportunities remotely. So it's important to recognize that these women have incredible career aspirations, but some may also have restrictions in their lives where they require a flexible schedule if they decide to start a family at home. So we want to be responsive to these women's needs, as well as the global opportunities they may have. If they want to remain in Ghana and work on projects for international corporations that have remote work opportunities, as you just alluded to, we'll also be building towards that on a sustainable level.
I have 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
One is,
Wait.
Thank you. You mentioned the big fund that's going right now from Germany, G7 to Africa, which is amazing. And I don't know how much you know, but 60% is supposed to go to women in Africa. I want to ask you 2 questions. One, can you share a bit about competition in your area? Because I know some others are doing quite the same. Sure. And the other things, how much you well connected to the African Development Bank, because they have special program exactly for what you're saying. And if not, I will connect you immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, we would love to be connected to the ADB. Yeah, we'd love to be connected to the ADB. And I'm sorry, I completely missed the first second.
Competitors.
Uh-huh.
I know others that doing quite the same in your
Sure, sure. I think we stand out because we are not just about coding skills. They're also about the soft skills that you need to thrive in a corporate environment or a tech environment. I think the mentorship opportunities that come, and I think the encouragement, that the fellowship that you get within the women, I think really creates a special experience. And last but not least, I think the team. I think we decided to, we could have worked anywhere around the world, but we decided to work for developers in Vogue. And I think that bringing our value and our skills to help support them creates a quality program. I know there are organizations that have numbers in the thousands of graduates. We believe in the quality of them and not the statistic by itself. So that's something that we strive to. We have directly impacted 100 women, but indirectly, if we go to an event with 500 women, we don't add those statistics to our data, but I know we could. But just want to emphasize that.
Just to add as well, I think it's important to recognize that while ostensibly we may have competitors such as Andela, I think you're alluding to, the potential is so massive that there's no point at which we will be crowding each other out. So we also at Developers in Vogue have been in correspondence with Andela, where locally in Ghana we exchange knowledge and know-how. So this isn't really about beating anyone out. It's really about working together, because ultimately it's about the success of these African women.
I was about to say, I know that Vodafone is desperately looking for programmers, not to mention female programmers. So I think this is such a huge problem that we probably need even more organizations like you. We have 1 more minute, so we would have time for one question. Oh, there's one question. I'm just going to jump. Whoops. Here you go.
Quick one. Your program sounds absolutely amazing. What do you tell male people who come to your office and want to also learn about programming?
That's a really good question.
Get out!
I suppose we can broadcast this right now. Come in, right? Up until this point, it's mostly been a referral and recruiting process directed towards women. They're so underappreciated in the Ghanaian space and globally that they respond very positively to these voices. But absolutely, right? Like, we have 3 floors. We can accommodate 50 students per floor. So if there ever comes a point where evenings or weekends, men also want to receive the training, why not, right?
It's all about inclusion.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much. Here again, they are obviously staying, so please ask them lots of more questions afterwards, and please take the 2-pager with all the essential information with you when you go home. Thank you. Thank you so much. So our next startup is the only startup that is based in Berlin. I would like to welcome Michael on stage. The stage is yours. Have fun.
Hi, thank you.
Presenter.
So, hi everyone. My name is Mikkel. I'm the CTO of Boost Thyroid. We founded this company together with my life partner and partner in crime, Bedrana. She can unfortunately not be here today. So what we're focusing on is delivering solutions for people that have chronic diseases. And we want to improve the collaboration between patients and doctors. The first disease that we are targeting is autoimmune thyroid disease, which affects 350 million people worldwide. Our user base is around 75 to 80% women, so it's mostly a women-focused disease. This is a couple of our users. Sorry, I'm blocking a bit. So yes, even if you maybe don't have this autoimmune condition yourself, there is probably someone that you know, love, or care about that do. This is a lifelong disease, and it has a potential to develop secondary diseases in 3 out of 5 people. And those health complications are very severe and has a global impact on the economy with 150 billion euros. So people that have these conditions often feel very alone, and it's hard to find information about it. And also it's hard to know what the future will bring when you have this type of lifelong disease. This lack of information is also impacting doctors because there is not so much research done. As I said, this is mainly a female-focused disease, and a lot of the research done on autoimmune diseases has been on diabetes, which is mainly a male-focused disease. So for doctors to create treatment plans, it's also much, much harder to make it individualized to the person. So because of this, we decided to start Boost Thyroid. It's a very big problem to solve, but we think we can make an impact. We're taking an approach where we focus on 4 different things. We develop tools to empower patients. We work with healthcare to improve the patient journey and improve healthcare flow. And we also create an active community where both doctors and patients share their experience with each other. We give back as much as we can to research because this is close to our heart, both of us being from Akademie initially. This is Boost Thyroid app. It's our first patient-facing product. It's catered to people that have autoimmune thyroid conditions, and it helps them to speed up diagnosis by tracking information about symptoms continuously. We present them with scientifically vetted knowledge so that people are prepared when they go to their doctor, which also helps the doctor to be more efficient in their work. Finally, we have analytics, which helps the patient and the doctor to take medical decisions together. We have 50,000 app downloads, and we're growing with around 30% month on month. Our website has close to 500,000 visits, and it's growing even faster than the app. We have one product, but we are focusing on multiple revenue streams. The first thing is patient communication. We're helping the doctor to be more efficient by spreading knowledge to the patients up front. We do one more thing, and that's together with the patient, we collect data and we transform that data into knowledge. That knowledge takes the form of algorithms for early diagnostics, which we will develop, and also we will develop preventive treatment plans which are individual to the patient using this data that we have. This is our team. We're very passionate and experienced. We have worked in different startups and in larger companies like Google. We are both experienced in engineering, product design, and marketing and community building, and within healthcare. We have been featured in Forbes and Nature Medicine as one of the top startups to look for related to female health. You can help us succeed by connecting us to clinics throughout Germany, throughout the EU, taking part of our investment round of 500,000 euro, which we're currently raising, and also promote us. Let the right people know that we are there so that we can help them. We would like for you to take the chance to help us to make change for millions of people out there. So please join us in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so sad that Vetra couldn't be here today because I was always amazed because she always said, I was suffering under these conditions and I just had to find a solution myself. So she's a super powerful CEO and your partner in crime, as you mentioned. So you have 5 minutes to ask questions here again. And I see already, this is going to be my gym today. Here, perfect.
Hi, hello. So I'm a healthcare professional, and I have 1,000 of questions for you, but I'm just stick with one. The first is when I go to your website, you said is a Hashimoto and hypothyroid app. My first question is, how do you distinguish hypothyroidism and Hashimoto? And is your app just focused on tracking symptoms, or you also give some advice, healthcare advice, or okay? And which is your market, by the way?
Yeah. So the first part is that we basically ask the patients when they're coming into the app. We have a survey, and they fill it in, and they let us know what type of condition they have. And the market is we're actually spread globally. So we have users in the US, in Sweden, in Germany, in Australia. Right now we're only in English, so that's of course a bit limiting in terms of localization for people that don't have English as their first language or even their second. What was the second question?
Your apps, if you focus on just tracking the symptoms?
No, yeah. So we don't give advice because we basically are not allowed to do that because of regulations. So the purpose of the app is, as a patient, you're tracking your symptoms. Over time, we also have analytics. So when you go to your healthcare professional, you can share those analytics. We have a doctor report which summarizes what you have been tracking over time. But this is only one part. The other very important part is that we can provide scientifically vetted information to people that are using the app. So we are providing small nuggets of information, for example, after tracking. We're having articles in the app, so longer articles about different parts of the symptoms that you can have, and so on. And we're also having surveys in the app, and the surveys are, we gather that data and then we present it back to the users through our website, mainly. And we are also collaborating with research institutes, and they also have the possibility to do surveys together with us, so that we can publish articles on that later on. Thank you.
Are there more questions? Yes, here in front. Oh, Sasha, you have to help me.
Hello. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. It's quite an interesting app. You started out talking about various other disease states. What made you start basically on the thyroid problem? Because this is, it's not so broad-based as cardiovascular or some of the other things. So how did that get started?
Yeah. So my wife, Vedrana, she has Hashimoto's disease, and this was one of the drivers. The other thing is that it was a female-focused disease, and we wanted to do something for the female community, doing more research and basically coming up to the same level as, for example, diabetes over time, so that we can provide these personalized treatment plans to make people feel better over time. So.
Thank you.
It is also super underdeveloped in regards to research, isn't it? So
Yes.
Many patients don't even know that they have the disease, and so...
Yeah, in general, it takes 5 to 7 years to get a diagnosis, and that's because you have such a wide range of symptoms.
Yeah, I think this is also the interesting part, because I downloaded the app, and I think it's not only for patients, but also for people that have certain, issues with their health, their body, and they can just ask simple questions in order to make sure that they don't have it, which is also already a good direction to get. Okay, I think we are running out of time for the questions, but again, the offer to approach Mikael afterwards. Thank you so much. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Our next startup comes from Nigeria, Abigail. Do you have your mic? Yes, you do. Please come on stage. The stage is yours.
I'm honored to be here today. Thanks to Vodafone Institute for this priceless opportunity. My name is Abigail. I'm the founder and CEO of Ruby Health. I started Ruby Health based on my personal experience. When I was pregnant, I realized I have an anxiety. I needed a mental health therapist to continually talk to during and after the pregnancy journey, but I couldn't find any. My 3-month search for a therapist added more stress to my life. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to look for. I felt lonely. After giving birth to my child, the first thing the doctor said was that he had jaundice. And as a nurse myself, I knew the implication of this if it's not properly managed. At a point, I was depressed, and I even thought of committing suicide. But I told myself, Abigail, depression is real, but suicide is not an option. I'm not the only one. This is a very common problem in pregnancy. In fact, over 80% of women in Nigeria do not have access to the right mental health care they need. In severe cases, most women commit suicide or even murder their babies. This brought about the birth of Ruby Health. We provide a convenient and affordable online mental health care consultation to women, especially during and after pregnancy. We do this in partnership with clinics in the rural, peri-urban, and urban communities. How does this work? Women walk into our partner clinic, get assessed, and talk to a therapist virtually. We charge our patients $3 per session, and our business model is based on revenue sharing, where 30% of the revenue goes to therapists, 30% to the clinic, 15% for operational costs, which leaves us with 25% margin at the end. Till date, we have partnered with 5 clinics with our e-hubs located in each. We have done 10,000 sessions. We have impacted over 6,500 women, and we have generated 34,000 USD in revenue. With over 130 million women giving birth each year, 55 million are located in Africa alone, which gives us a huge market opportunity. Unlike our competitors, Ruby Health is mental health care focused, affordable, and we provide point-of-care integration. Our clients get validated return on their investment. They get 90% satisfaction of the money they pay. And our providers get meaningful and predictable income. We have a very strong team with over 30 years combined experience in medicine, mental health, marketing, and technology. Just like I said earlier, till date, we have partnered with 5 clinics with our e-hubs located in each, and we have impacted over 6,500 lives. Our goal for the next 2 years is to increase our e-hubs from 5 to 20, and also build our mobile application in order to make more impact. We asked for 300,000 euro to be spent on partnership, growth, and operational cost. Ruby Health has helped me and other 1,000 women to live a happy and depression-free life. We have a very big solution to a very large global problem. My dream is an Africa full of happy and depression-free women. Because I believe happy women makes happy community. Join me now in making this dream a reality. And I want each and every one of you sitting here today to always remember this, that the beauty of life is not how happy you are, but how happy others can be because of you. Thank you so much.
There are so many wise sentences I need to write down and probably write in a book or something. Thank you so much, Abigail, for your pitch. That was wonderful. Also, maybe a background information, because sometimes investors ask themselves, are they ambitious enough? Do they really want this? Abigail came from Nigeria with her baby son and spent 6-7 weeks with her baby son in a tiny little impact hub room and was super focused and had this wonderful pitch today. So I'm being a young mother myself. I don't even know how you did it. So it's amazing. But I don't want to take any time for your questions. So do you have questions? You probably do. Now you're shy because, very good. Do I have? No, Sasha, very good.
Now, when a woman connects and needs therapy, are these like one-on-one therapy sessions, or is there a coaching tool? And if these are one-on-one therapy sessions, is there enough capacity of therapists?
Thank you so much for your question. In Nigeria, presently, we have about 240 qualified therapists, but we have thousands of psychiatric nurses and doctors. So, and in fact, let me say 95% of these therapists are living in the urban community, and they are not willing to come to the rural communities. So what we do is that we connect these therapists and psychiatric nurses to these women virtually through partnership with clinics. We go through their point of care to have access to these women in order to do this. Just like I said, we have e-hubs located in each clinic. So the e-hubs is like a cubicle, comprises of computer, internet connectivity, and a printer to make the video call, virtual call with the therapist. Yeah.
Okay, more questions.
Can you share a bit about the infrastructure? Like,
Mali always talks without the microphone.
sorry. Like usually, it's supposed to be also governmental part.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you if it's that far away of being also taking responsibility of the government. And the second question, like if you're already collaborating with someone, I would say that can really move the needle and make it so impactful and go to a broader audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. As we all know here, Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. So our government have a lot of things to deal with at the moment. But as an individual, and because of what I've been through, my experience, and as a nurse, I know this is very common in pregnancy. So I need to start something in my community, not waiting for the government to take action.
We have one more question on our left side.
Hello, you showed that a session gives a therapist $1. How long is such a session, or what will he or she do in this session?
Yeah, thank you so much. The $1 is for the underserved rural communities, the core rural communities that we have a lot of poor people in there. So, but the peri-urban and urban session, we charge $3. So, and we have more of our e-hubs in peri-urban and urban. So, the patients that we charge $1 is the same, they receive the same service with the one that we charge $3. But because they are not that privileged to pay $3, we charge them $1 to have access to the same service and to the same opportunity. Do you understand?
How long, he also asked, how long are the sessions?
It's between 45 minutes and 1 hour, and it depends on how the patient recovers quickly, maybe before or after pregnancy, or even because we have two of our patients that their baby are over 2 years now, and they are okay and satisfied with the service they receive from us. So it depends on the patient and the therapist. Do you understand?
Around 45 to 60 minutes, and then
yeah, continue.
According to gravity, probably. More questions. I think we would have 1 more minute, so okay. It's over there, Sasha, in the middle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
My question is, how do you reach these women? I mean, a very, very tough decision to say, okay, I'm taking care of this issue, this disease, or not disease, but a thing that I have, being depressive, and to make something of it, and then to get better. But also, maybe most women do not even know how to get out of this vicious circle. How do you reach these women to make use of your beautiful, great app?
Thank you so much. Sorry, are you asking about the mobile application or the service? Okay. The e-hubs, the reason why we go into the clinics is to reach out to these women. And first, we do what we call community awareness, where we have health camp. We have, like, for instance, let's say this is one community, so we have our health camp there to create awareness about mental health, about what we are doing, and the clinics that we partner with in that community. That is one. And in terms of the mobile application, we are still working on it. Not for the rural dwellers, because most of them do not have access to Android phone and do not even know how to use it because they are not educated. So the mobile app is for the tech-savvy mothers who are in the peri-urban and urban communities in order to make more impact on them as well.
Okay, regarding the time, I have to send you off stage, but thank you so much, Abigail, for everything.
So much. Thank you.
And, so our last startup, going back to Europe, is located in UK, even though the founder is actually originally a Canadian. Jillian, please come on front and have fun at your pitch.
I want to share with you a personal story. When I first moved from Vancouver to London, I used navigation apps to get me around the city. But the fastest route wasn't necessarily the safest one. And after one particular night, being guided down a dark, narrow alleyway, I was confronted by 2 kitchen staff. They threatened to sexually assault me. Luckily, I was able to escape, but I was left with the feeling that someone else was going to take that same route, and that experience was going to go uncaptured. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been guided down and had an unsafe experience? Raise your hand. Thank you. I am not alone in this. An estimated 66% of women in Germany have experienced sexual harassment, 85% in the UK, and 99% in Egypt. And another estimation is that 90% of these go unreported, at least in the UK. And most people think there's no point to report, and that's what they say. This not only has a societal cost, but it also has a business cost. According to one study in the UK, $2 billion per year are spent on sexual offenses and damages. This doesn't also consider in the costs the fear of crime, which limits women's economic participation, whether it's in nighttime economy or also in staffing and job access. And the problem here is that there's a safety data gap and that we don't know about the figures of crime and the impacts and costs because it remains invisible. And of course, it's not related only to women or people who have experienced sexual harassment. This includes all forms of discrimination, harassment, and bullying, whether that's physical, environmental, verbal, or nonverbal. We can't walk in everyone's shoes, whether you're a young refugee woman new to Berlin or a physically disabled gay man, but we can include you in the solution to design spaces and journeys for you, as well as use your experiences to shape the communities that you want to live in. And this is how we do it. So Safe in the City is a navigation app that you can download right now, and will get you from point A to B and give you the access to street smart information that's based on official crime statistics. We also help you navigate and identify safe sites along your journey and access 999 or emergency services wherever you are. We want you to break the silence and be able to share your experiences anonymously of any forms of harassment in different spaces, so that every experience count. And we want to learn from you, so sharing how that journey felt, so that I don't have to take alleyways at night. It will learn from me and use the information that I'm doing to design safer spaces. This is how we've come to work with the Metropolitan Police in London. Not only to offer a two-way benefit so that we can push public safety alerts and keep people out of harm's way while teaching them everyday street smarts, but also how we can actually tap into the wisdom of the crowd and now start to look at a more sustainable way of engaging everyone in the conversation for the continuum of safeguarding. We also offer these insights to businesses as our public safety as a service. So at your next event or in that business area that you occupy, we can also start to identify the safety concerns of people occupying your spaces, the types of incidents that you have, and also work with police to make sure that we're keeping people out of harm's way. This can give you a score and an indication to build on a legacy of information, giving you the visibility of the impact that people have and design better customer experiences and have more people participating in your jobs. We have an amazing team with over 50 years of experience. Gary is in the back. You'll notice him by his t-shirt, who came all the way from London, so we really hope to speak with you. And to date, we've raised over £150,000 worth of in-kind resources and equity-free funding to reach 20,000 app and web users that are sharing insights that we can work with the Metropolitan Police, UN Women UK, and the Mayor of London. We've been recognized by the Prime Minister, by the Commonwealth Association, as well as the royal family. And we know that creating ourselves in communities like F-Lane is also investing in our success. We're on a roadmap, a quickly growing roadmap, to reach 10 million users, enter markets like Asia and Africa to start addressing these types of ideas, and be one of the role model businesses that can be highly profitable and social at the same time. We're closing our 500K investment round to further build out our SaaS platforms, as well as reach new markets and explore new business opportunities. We are on a mission to becoming the world's most responsible data insights provider to enable the design of smarter and safer cities, not only in our transparency of working with people and sharing this information, but our partners with the police and public authorities. We want you to join us on our mission to invest in us as an impact founder, to work with us to stay ahead of these types of experiences, and also to pledge and share your experiences. We are really proud to say that in this 7 weeks, we are now launching Safe in the City in Berlin. So you can take out your phones right now and download us to be able to make sure that the next journey that you take counts for something, not only for your journey, but someone else's ahead. Thank you very much.
Congrats, very good. Yeah, I mean, I hope this was underlined that today is the launch day of Berlin, so I definitely want to see all the mobile phones now in your hands. Thank you so much. Here again, the opportunity to ask questions for the next 5 minutes. And we have one question right at the back of the room. I don't know where my assistants are. Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. What's your business model? How do you make money?
So we have the Public Safety as a Service SaaS platform. So we are giving scores and indications so that we package a lot more of the difficult part and be able to give you an indication of the risk to your event, people traveling in, as well as in the actual festival, for example.
So how much does it cost me as a single user to use
For the SaaS platform?
Yeah.
So we're benchmarking that at the moment, but it's around 100,000 per year that most of our other competitors doing not similar things, but things with monitoring consumer spend, for example, which we think we have an even more powerful data set because this has never been analytics that we can apply to so many different types of business concerns.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Here in front.
How are you? Hello, thank you. It's a great app. How are you currently advertising for it?
We actually haven't had any marketing spend, so our growth has all been organic, word of mouth, referrals. So yeah, that's, I think, been a testament to not only people wanting to share these types of experiences, and maybe it not being hosted on just social media or different, maybe review sites, but it actually going towards that pool of knowledge so we can use it to be meaningful in the changes that we want to make.
One of the first.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I will ask quickly how you implement that in Berlin, with whom?
So we're looking for investors to help, I guess, embed ourselves here, but I think more importantly, event organizers. So whether you have a conference or festival, that also gives us a rapid insight to the insights. And one of the core components of what Safe in the City does is really that we are jointly looking at raising our voices to say this is something that we want visibility on, not just to say that, you've had this experience, you never come back to the concert, you told all your friends this is something that happened to me. But actually to be able to monitor whether that's training interventions, more security staff, and give people the recognition for those types of experiences.
But you still doesn't have like a main partner like the mayor of Berlin, the mayor of London in Berlin. You don't have this yet.
We're working with the, organizations in London who supported us. So we're part of the International Mayors Program. We're working with Berlin partners, London and Partners Berlin. So we're using the organizations. We've started talking to the Berlin police, but 7 weeks is a lot to do, including the program. And we're very keen to look at, what organizations we can use from London to prove the concept in Berlin. Thank you.
We had one more question here in the first row.
First of all, I actually think this is an excellent initiative. As a mother of 2 daughters and a gay son, I would have slept so much better if you had existed already when they were young and coming home late. However, I didn't catch the revenue model that you described before. Could you go through that again?
Yes. Okay, so event organizers, we offer public safety as a service. So it's a form of SaaS, and it's digesting the information that we're getting on the application. So whether it's incident reports, the perception of the journey or the occupation in that space, as well as the risk of crime that we get from the police. We package that together, and then so if we have 100,000 people at Glastonbury who are downloading the app, they can report different incidents. You can push notifications to say, hey, these are the concerns, how can we help support you? These are, now that we know about it, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. That's, I guess, how we've generated our traction so far commercially. We're also, not to get confusing, but the public safety as a service is also an API and SDK. So What 3 Words is our current provider, so other applications can license out our algorithms and the information that we're receiving from police so that we can also expand our user base, but only have a low-cost option for the Airbnb people or the Bumble dates that you're going on to be able to have access to our navigation system.
Okay, since we are running out of time and I already can smell the lunch coming up, thank you so much. Thank you. Before you all, leave the room and run to the buffet, maybe I would like to have all the teams coming up on stage, the cooperation partners that did so much work, and we have to thank a lot because we obviously didn't do it all by ourselves. So Impact Hub Berlin, Zea, I can see behind there, and I'm looking for Anna. So please come up front, we will make tons of pictures, and also please the speakers and keynotes. I think Saskia had unfortunately to leave already, but the panelists would be also such an asset to be on the picture with us. So please come in front, we have a little photo session, but people can already eat and drink something, but thank you so much. going to be really cozy on the stage now. I'm going behind the flower. I hope. I was talking to Danielle, and then I was like, it's not off, is it? Okay. So I'm not going to say.